Make some opening statements. J-Mac, let's talk about that game first. Niners, how do they make a statement against Seattle?
How about you stop blowing 10-point leads in the fourth quarter in these division games? They did it against the Rams, and then they did it against the Cardinals. They have to find a way to finish games. Part of that will be Brock Purdy in the second half. Continue to play like you did in the first half and keep dominating. That's how they do it.
The reality is the defense just isn't what it once was either. Dan, Commanders-Ravens is a monster game. How do one of these teams make a statement in this matchup?
Yeah, Commanders, Jaden Daniels, specifically in the red zone with his legs, and then some of those clutch downfield throws. Does that continue against the secondary that got ate up against Baltimore last week? And then for Washington's defense that has been quietly very good, how good are you going to be on first down? The Ravens have the best run game in the NFL on first down, 6.5 yards per carry. If you win that down, you get to do what you did last week and hunt the quarterback.
And then Harold, game of the week, Cowboys-Lions. How does Dallas make a statement?
Harold.
Now, they're going against one of the most physical teams in the NFL, so you have to win the line of scrimmage. Easier said than done, but I like what they did versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. They ran the football effectively. They also stopped the run. If you want to beat the Detroit Lions, who's one of the best teams in the NFL as well, you have to win the line of scrimmage at the point of attack.
All right, Schefter, how about this game? What do we need to know as we look at the notebook of what I think is maybe the glamour game of the weekend? Detroit maybe trending towards being the best team in the NFC. The Cowboys coming off a big win that I think got a lot of people a little motivated.
A rematch of a great game last year when Dan Skipper should have caught that touchdown pass, was ruled ineligible. Now we get the two teams meeting again, and Dallas is even more beat up along its defensive front than it was last week when it went into Pittsburgh. Everybody was talking about the rookie second-round draft pick Marshawn Nealon replacing DeMarcus Lawrence. Well, Marshawn Nealon was placed on injury reserve yesterday. He's now at a minimum of 4 games. Micah Parsons didn't practice yesterday, so it looks like he might not be available. So that might be no Parsons, no Nealon, no DeMarcus Lawrence, no Sam Williams from the summer, and somehow Dallas is going to have to find a way to slow down a very strong Detroit rushing attack, a great offensive line, and find a way to prevail the way the Cowboys did Sunday night in Pittsburgh.
So we frequently will use a device on the show, bad game or bad sign. I kind of want to reverse it. Cowboys, they win a game Sunday night that a lot of people didn't think they would. Was that a good game or was that a good sign?
It was a good game. It's not a good sign. Here's the thing, Dallas, opportunity to prove you're a playoff football team. Different animal coming to town this week with the Detroit Lions. And you're going to see a stark contrast between what this offense in Dallas looks like pre-snap to what this offense in Detroit looks like pre-snap. This is a dominant offensive line, and that's a strength for the Detroit Lions. One of the best offensive lines in football when it comes to running, and one of the best offensive lines in football when it comes to passing. You know, with the Cowboys are weakened, both of those things defensively. So can you handle the physicality from Detroit's run game and also the versatility of it? They throw a bunch of different runs at you. And guess who got the worst pass defense in the NFL right now, yards per attempt? Dallas Cowboys. Over 9 yards given up per pass attempt. Guess who has the worst pass defense in the NFL when it comes to motion and then throwing the football? The Cowboys. It goes to over 13 yards per attempt. That's something that the Detroit Lions excel in major at. That's the key to this game. Can that defense slow down a dynamic and explosive offense?
And if not, can they get into a shootout and find some way to win it? I know you put together some tape for us here of the other side of the ball.
Yeah, because I think it's a good sign. I think for the Cowboys, we kill them when they're not able to finish a game. Sunday night, they finished a game, and we said, who's going to step up other than CeeDee Lamb? They were able to do that. We're talking about formations. This is Seattle against the Lions, Monday Night Football. You're going to see here, they get in a bunch, and they hit Jackson Smith and Jigba. There was confusion for the Lions. It continued to happen. Here it is another time. You have 3 guys lined up. Somebody ends up wide open or running into somebody. This is a first down by Jackson Smith and Jigba again, and this is just simply lining up in a bunch formation. Well, do the Cowboys do bunch? Yes, they do. Sunday Night Football, you're going to see Ferguson come open, a third down conversion again, being able to get up the field and complete a pass. Here he goes, a little bit of that motion just to make Dan O happy, and they're going to line up. They're going to get in a bunch. Watch these 2 guys. They're both covering the wrong guy because Ferguson is wide open again, and they're able to get up the football field and make a big play. So I think that is something that can help them. And the game Tolbert had as well, other guys stepping up and showing that they can pay.
What's unique about that play that Jake Ferguson is running? It's the same play. We used to call that Y F choice.
We call it the ram route on defense.
So you have a 3-way go. You can break in, you can break out. If it's zone coverage, you have cover 3. You can buzz out to that defender and hook up, as you've seen one of the other times. But looking at that film on Detroit, just the way they're aligned to me seems wrong. Like, talk about that. Like,
and they play so much man that you have to defend bunches multiple ways. So you have to be able to switch it up so the offense doesn't know.
Like, there's no one on the point man or trying to jack the point man up. I've never seen that in a bunch formation.
So we'll see how that matchup plays itself out. Let's put the picks up on the screen, Cindy, because they always tell an interesting story. You know my motto, if everyone is going in one direction, it never goes that way.
It looks a lot like last week when everybody was picking the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Dallas Cowboys, and we know how that worked out.
That's exactly right. Graziano was the one person who went the other way, and it worked out for him.
Detroit is a different animal.
George, a different cat, man.
I understand.
It's also in Dallas.
I will merely say they have these really big buildings in Vegas, and if everybody knew what was going to happen in these games, those buildings wouldn't be there. Let's run the hurry up with Adam Schefter, who's in our studio. So, Schefter, Davante Adams, there's been so much talk about the possibility of a trade to the Jets, but what are their other teams doing right now?
Well, I think there are teams out there lurking, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the Baltimore Ravens, like the Buffalo Bills, waiting to see if the Jets or Saints can't and won't get a deal done with the Raiders. And the Raiders have been adamant that they get back at least a second-round draft pick and then some. But in this market, there has not been a team that has been willing to step up. And we could look at other prices. Stephon Diggs went for the equivalent of a third-round draft pick. Keenan Allen went for a fourth-round draft pick. I pointed this out and was told that the New England Patriots once traded a second-round draft pick for Mohamed Sanu. So there are all different comps that you can use. It's up to other teams to step up or not step up. And to date, nobody has been willing to meet the Raiders' price.
Well, the bottom line of it is that this is something the Raiders should have seen coming a long time ago, right? This is a distressed asset right now. He's hurt. Is he really hurt? Is he too hurt to play? Would he suddenly be healthy if he was in a different place? The bottom line of it is everyone knows the Raiders need to trade him, and so everyone is going to do whatever they can to diminish the price as best they can. How much of a difference does he make? That's really the question. Let me turn to my wide receiver. How much of it does Davante Adams on the right team make that team a championship contender?
100%. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens, if you plug them into that offense with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers and those two tight ends, instantly, in my opinion, I would have the Baltimore Ravens as the best team in the NFL.
Ravens?
Yeah.
They may be the best team in the NFL anyway.
Davante Adams?
Respectfully, I completely disagree. There's only one team who gets closer to a Super Bowl with Davante Adams. It's the New York Jets. I absolutely understand the premise of the Baltimore Ravens, but then you're taking a strength of their team, which is those multiple tight ends and Patrick Ricard. Somebody's coming off the field. I get it with the Washington Commanders. Absolutely. And I get it with the Washington Commanders. I don't think they're there yet. I think they're way more closer than we expected. There's one team that if they add Davante Adams, significantly gets closer to actually being into the Super Bowl or real Super Bowl contenders. It's the New York Jets, and it's not that hard.
Can I get your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills if they make that trade?
That's a fair one. I didn't think about that one a ton. Yeah, I didn't think about that one a ton. That would be one that was probably, if the defense gets healthy, is probably in that group as well. So I'll give you two teams.
Because they struggled to get open against the Houston Texans.
And last week, Josh played poorly. More misses. You could say more misses for Josh Allen last week than I've seen in 4 years, 5 years.
I don't put it that much on Josh Allen. I called that game with Levy, and I thought it was more so Mac Hollins having 2 drops, Dalton Kincaid having
some
drops,
misses downfield?
Keon Coleman. But I think that was more so because guys aren't getting separation and Josh Allen don't trust those guys.
Yeah.
I think Davante Adams will put that offense in a better place. For the first time for Buffalo, the last 2 weeks, I felt like they missed a number 1 wide receiver in Stephon Diggs.
Can I ask Schefter a quick question? Is if you trade for him, do you have to get a new deal done? Because I think that's the part of the Buffalo equation.
It's an interesting question. They want back a 2, and I don't think in the end they're going to get a 2. So if you are any team that we mentioned, and you can get Davante Adams for a 3 or a 4 or a 4 and a 5, whatever combination of picks it may be, you may say, you know what? I don't care that he's got 36 guaranteed next year, 36 million, and we might have to cut him, and he might not be willing to redo the deal because we're only giving up a 4. So if he wants to walk, we'll give him his freedom, and he'll go at that point in time. You're not going to get back a comp pick because you'd have to cut him. But if the price is low enough from the Raiders, then you might say, so what?
One way or another, we'll find out, and we think we'll find out as soon as next week. Does it feel like next week is the time to get this done?
Well, I would have said this week would have felt like the time. I think here's the deal with Davante Adams. It could be any time, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be this week. We're on to after this week's games when the league resets and we see which teams win and which teams don't, and then we see a renewed push. But really, it comes down to Mark Davis, the Raiders owner, be willing to accept that he's not going to get back what the New York Jets were willing to offer a year ago at the trade deadline, when they might have given up 2 second-round draft picks, and the Raiders held on to him at that point in time.
Yeah, you said it yesterday, too. The league reshapes like every week. Literally every week. It's an entirely different league, so we'll see where they go. Speaking of which, let's continue the hurry up. The Steelers were riding high. Now suddenly they've dropped 2 games in a row. How would you describe, Schefter, the latest on their quarterback situation?
I would say that Russell Wilson is lurking, Greeny. Now, lurking. Justin Fields is preparing to start, and Mike Tomlin has really not crowned him as the full-time starter. And I think the feeling always has been, as long as Justin Fields is playing well and they're winning games, it's hard to take him off the field. But the Steelers now have lost 2 straight games. So what if they were to lose to the Raiders on Sunday? What if there were some struggles in this particular case? Well, Russell Wilson is now practicing in full. Yesterday was his first full practice since the season kicked off. So he's ready to go, and Mike Tomlin is leaving the door ajar, in his words, for Russell Wilson to be active on Sunday. Now, what that means is he would be the backup quarterback, but he is within an arm's length of Justin Fields. And again, I think if Justin Fields is winning and he's producing, no issues. But when they don't win, it becomes a question.
Is somebody going to get open more than 5 yards downfield in Pittsburgh? Is that going to happen? Are they going to get a new receiver to do that?
Well, Davante Adams' name came up with a connection to them as well yesterday here.
You know, George Pickens, I think the world of talent-wise, at some point the talent has to produce consistently. That's one of the main issues for this offense right now, is no one's open downfield more than 5 yards downfield. The second thing is, you watch this offensive line, America? You guys watch this offensive line?
Yes, I have.
Justin's covering up a lot for this pass-protecting offensive line, specifically on the right side.
It was like that in the preseason as well.
Jalen Warren come back? Okay, well, is that going to make the run game more explosive, hopefully? Because right now, the run game is non-existent in too much the case. So you could switch to Russell Wilson, sure, but you better get somebody open downfield way more than they are right now.
To your point with George Pickens, he played the 3rd most snaps of the wide receivers. Van Jefferson played more than him. Calvin Austin played more than him in that Cowboys game. Yes, he only played 59% of the snaps. So to your point, George Pickens is by far their best receiver, best chance to get open. He's on the football field less. So what's really going on with that situation in Pittsburgh, you have to figure out as well. Seeing him continue to progress and not turn the ball over. So, yes, if you're just looking for answers and you're looking for a spark, you can go ahead and throw Russell Wilson in there. Yeah. But there's no way I think they're sitting there and they're like, oh, yeah, we insert Russ, and now our offense becomes what now?
And by the way, and that's why the Steelers are one of those teams that's lurking, because they know they need more help. And there are other issues, but they certainly could use another wide receiver to complement the guys.
I didn't think when they traded Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers that they would need him back right now, as much as they do at this point in the season. Like at the time, I thought it was a good trade because they needed another corner. But how offensively, how they looked in the pass game and what they don't have at the wide receiver position, they're missing Deontay Johnson on the opposite side.
Look, I mean, Mike Tomlin has been in, I've been saying, sort of the best possible position, because he can have his cake and eat it too. He can make a quarterback change without having to make a quarterback change. Russell Wilson was hurt enough that Justin Fields was playing. Russell Wilson remained hurt enough that he didn't have to use your word, crown him or name him or whatever the term would be. He just let him keep playing, and you let it keep going until it starts going sideways. The question is he playing well enough to keep that job with Russell Wilson being healthy?
My opinion, absolutely. Justin Fields is playing as good as you could have hoped 5 weeks ago to start this season. The challenge is going to be this. Pittsburgh wins this weekend. Justin plays well, and the Baltimore Ravens lose. And Russell Wilson is declared fully healthy. Then you're sitting in first place if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I cannot imagine that they would bench Justin Fields coming off any type
But don't we believe at some point, you guys have been, it's a dangerous game to constantly play as you get longer into this season and the quarterback is playing well. I'm not telling everybody's the MVP, and you're flirting with or contending within your division, to just constantly have the quarterback question on a week-to-week basis.
So what are you saying? Are you saying he needs to just name Fields the starter? Is that what you're saying?
I would, yes.
When Russ becomes healthy, you have to. You have to say something.
Unless Justin goes out this weekend and has a complete flop, and all of a sudden you're sitting there going, all right, the winning streak is over, I think, yeah.
Let me say this really quick. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Falcons in Week 1 without Justin Fields being at the quarterback position.
Right.
I don't
He's
think
played
they
well.
win those two other games that they
He's
have
played
right now
solid
if it
football.
wasn't for Justin Fields.
Yeah, no. This past
I feel that
weekend,
strongly about it.
This past weekend, that felt like a step back for their offense. That felt like a game against the Dallas defense that had been struggling, that we thought they would move forward. They didn't do it, and it sort of reignited a lot of this conversation.